Hey, this is Fred Biletnikoff, Super Bowl champion. You're listening to Jim on Base.
Welcome to the Jim on Base podcast. My name is Jim Stevens, and this is the podcast that catches you up with some of your favorite athletes and other entertainment figures. Welcome back to another episode of the Jim on Base show. For today's very special guest, we have on someone that played 14 seasons in the NFL. He has 2 Super Bowls under his belt. He's a Super Bowl MVP, a 6-time Pro Bowler. His numbers retired at Florida State, and he's in the NFL Hall of Fame. Please welcome the great Fred Biletnikoff. Fred, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's exciting to have you on the show and catch up with you. You're a busy guy these days, right? You're always flying in, flying out somewhere. I know you got a golf tournament coming up for your foundation, so you got a lot going on.
Oh yeah, this year's been crazy. It's just been doing a lot of traveling and going to a lot of football games and just been busy. One of those years that people look forward to, some people don't look forward to. But it's been crazy in and out of airports and everything. So it's been a pretty much of a challenge this year. It really has been. We've gotten through it so far.
Yeah, so far we're doing good, and I'm happy to have you on. And, speaking of golf, how is your golf game? Because I know there's a lot of ex-Raiders that hit the course, whether it's Jerry Rice, you got Charles Woodson, Tim Brown, Marcus Allen. Who's the best out of that group?
They're all good. It all depends on what the competition's like. All right. It could be very intense. It could be a lot of fun, but knowing those guys, they seem to have a great amount of competition still left in them after all these years of playing football. So it's a delight watching these guys play and how far they hit it, and just their overall approach to the game. They have a lot of fun doing it. So they enjoy it. They get out and play quite a bit. My game is very feeble. All right, I don't play as I used to. I just started going to the super senior tees when I do go out there, but it's fun. I enjoy being out there. There's nothing like being on a golf course. Nothing.
Yeah, nothing beats that. And, speaking of golf, most people get up kind of early in the morning. So are you a morning guy? Do you get up early or?
It all depends. If I have to get up early in the morning, I do. If I don't have to, I don't. But I don't sleep in that late. I'm usually up pretty early all the time. And there's some mornings I'm up earlier than I want to be. But, it all depends what I want to get done for the day and how I want to kind of put my time towards different things we're doing with our, like we have our golf event down in Las Vegas at Canyon Gate Country Club. So, we're starting to really rev that up and getting in touch with guys and getting commitments and just doing everything that's necessary to put the event. We just got done with our crab feed in December. So this is probably the closest that we've had both our big events that close together. So it seems like we just got the crab feed done and we're off and getting ready to cranking it up for the golf tournament and getting that organized.
How was the crab feed? Did you eat too much or?
Oh no, the crab feed was great. Down at the do a great job down there for us. This is our second year down there, and it went fantastic. We had great support from everybody, and we're doing another project down there with St. Jude's Ranch for Children, and we're going to be part of that program with Tracy's Place of Hope. And so, my wife Angela is just staying busy with everything, keeping the foundation going year round. And raising money, and this will be our next big project. We just finished up the project up in Loomis, California, with Tracy's Place of Hope. We built I call it a recreation center in the back of the house that we finished a few years ago. So we got that project done, and it turned out terrific. We had great support from the people in Loomis and Roseville and Sacramento and Auburn, and so it's going really well. Yeah.
I'll make sure to put some links in the bio so people can get involved and how they can help out.
Oh, that'd be perfect. That'd really be helpful for us. Really would. I want to thank you for that.
Yeah, love to do that. And are you still a local guy these days then? Are you in the East Bay or?
Oh, no, we're in Sacramento and Roseville. We've been up here, a little over 20 years now. We moved up from the Bay, well, I say the Bay Area, but from like Walnut Creek area, Dublin, Pleasanton, that area. So we've been up here quite a few years, and my wife is from Dublin originally, and her whole family lives up here now. And so they've been up here a number of years. We're the last part of the family to move up in this area. So we love it. A great area to live in.
Yeah. You got your big birthday coming up. 80th birthday, right? So what's on the plans?
I didn't plan on living this long. If I knew I was going to live this long, I would have done things twice as bad. No.
Well, I imagine a lot of grandkids coming around and stuff.
Yeah. Well, they live all over the place, so it's hard to get everybody together. But we all keep in touch with each other yearly, daily, monthly, weekly, whatever it may be. And getting done with the holidays, you're always in touch with everybody. But everybody's kind of all over the country, and so we really don't get a chance to really get together with the entire family at one time. But Angela's family has a big family, so where we see them quite a bit all the time, daily.
Well, what kind of cake are you going for? You a chocolate guy, vanilla?
Oh, me? I like to keep birthdays simple. It's just, maybe that's just me. Maybe, birthday, after a while, a birthday is a birthday. And, turning 80, like I said, is a big surprise for me and probably for a lot of other people to have me live this long. But if I'm going to live this long, I would certainly want to live a few more years.
Well, you're still kicking ass, man. You're getting around.
Yeah, well, yeah, sometimes by choice, sometimes not by choice. But yeah, I stay pretty busy. Angela keeps me pretty busy with the foundation that she runs, continuously 12 months out of the year. So I do a lot with her and helping her out with the foundation as much as I can. And that's basically contacting, guys I played with and getting guys to come to our events. And, then she has started up her Biletnikoff Wines. Angela started that company up. She's doing a great job with that. And that's going really well. We have E2 Winery and helping us out with that, which they've not put a good product out. And, we got some good wine. We really do.
Well, I'll put a link in for that, and
yeah,
I might be getting hammered to Biletnikoff wine.
Yeah, the wine is really good. It really, really good, and people enjoy it. We have it in the Legion Stadium at the M Resort Hotel down in Las Vegas and Henderson, and back at the Hall of Fame, and different places in Florida, and so it's going pretty good. It really is. I'm surprised, and Angela's done a great job with that, with that business that she started. So, and she gets out there and beats the streets. Believe me, I'll tell you what. So, you can't have anybody better in your corner than doing things for your events.
Well, how long have you guys been married?
Oh boy, oh my God, 35 years now.
Holy cow!
Longer, 38, 39 years. Yeah, quite a few years now.
Did you guys meet when you were playing, or?
No, way after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. When I first started coaching in the USFL in Oakland with the Invaders, so that's where we met in the Bay Area.
Well, you got a good streak going.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's going in, like you say, the years keep going by faster and faster. It's like this past year just kind of flew by. Sometimes you wonder, it's one holiday, then the next holiday, then the next holiday. And then before you know it, the year's over. Now it's time to do taxes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania, right? So what kind of town was that?
Erie's a great town. You're right on the lake, right on the bay. They've done a terrific job down on the bayfront. Down there, putting hotels in there, different venues for people to come down there and have corporate outings and corporate business to carry on. And so the bayfront is really, really fantastic there. And the cities, I love Erie because of the fact that being born and raised, with multiple ethnic groups, you get an opportunity to understand people's backgrounds, where they come from. Like I said, there's so many ethnic groups that, you're always involved with people from different religions, different backgrounds, and the way they grew up. And so I really feel fortunate that that's the way I was brought up in Erie, because I got to experience that, being brought up with multiple friends, like I say, multiple religions, multiple ethnic groups. So it was fun. I enjoyed it. I don't get back as much as I used to. We're right now we're doing a Biletnikoff field at the old high school that I went to. So we're slowly but getting things done there, and we finally got some good funding from the school district coming up. So we're doing a little by little. Everything's getting improved with the field and where people can use it. And and the kids can be proud of it. They can walk out the back of the school and see a good practice field, a nice track, stands, keep doing the improvements to it each and every year. So, and the people in Erie and the school district have been just fantastic. It's really, really backing up the whole project and seeing that it goes forward. And we're just making strides. COVID kind of held us back for a number of years, but it's slowly getting done. Things are starting to really, really fall in place, and I'm really happy about it. And I'm happy for the kids at the school that they're going to be able to have some place to really be proud of and have a good practice facility.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah, and the people living in town, they use the facility for walking and, visiting. And so it's good for everybody in the neighborhoods up there on the west side to really enjoy some place to go and have some place to exercise.
Well, you mentioned, that's where you grew up as well. So was the 1950s, was that a special time to grow up?
Yeah, it's like American graffiti. No, that period of time, because it was just a different era. Being able to play all sports and, neighborhoods were big. That's where you grew up in your neighborhood. And, you got to be able to learn about sports, how to compete, because, we weren't always in a situation where if you're out playing football, baseball, basketball, you're playing against different age group guys, so you learn how to be tough, you learn how to compete, you learn how to be stubborn, you learn how to hate losing. So that was a great, being brought up in that area. And, everybody in Erie, there's all factory town. You had the waterfront where they did a lot of shipping. People worked down on the docks a lot, everybody. And that's the way life was. It was all the, old time doo-wop and all the different songs and singing groups and all that. So it was a great period of time.
Were you an Elvis guy, or who was your music?
No. Drifters. No. We go back. Yeah. Acapella and all that. It was a good way to be brought up. You had your Friday night dances, Saturday night dances, and, you had your sports going on the weekends. So it was a good place to grow up and a good place to learn, not only about playing sports, but playing with guys that were really great ball players, and it was competing. That's where you learn. Either you won or you lost. There's nothing in between. You didn't get anything for second place, okay?
Yeah.
No. We didn't have a first 10 spots get trophies. No.
Well, you said you played all the sports. I know you had all city honors in baseball, basketball, football, and track. And you were a high jumper champion, right? So could you throw it down and dunk too, I imagine?
I won the champion, but I was okay. Yeah. For that period of time anyway. I wasn't like a Mervyn Fernandez high jumping 7 foot. No. Willie Gall on the track or James Lofton or, all those guys that were fantastic track guys. No. That was a total different era. We had our guys there from different schools that were pretty damn good. Everything.
Were your parents athletic? Like, where'd you get the athletic genes? Because I know your brother Bob played football too.
Well, he was a boxer. Well, he was a fighter, yeah. But it was at the period of time. He did all the club fights and that type of thing. So they worked like hell just to put food on the table. That's all. Like, I always like to kid around, when I see what the style of clothes is now, the style is, you got jeans, you got holes all over the jeans, well, my mother, if you had something wrong with your pants or whatever, she was always sewing them up or patching them up some way. But now it's the style.
Yeah, they come ripped.
If it was the style years ago, she wouldn't have had to work that hard.
What did your dad do for work?
My dad was a welder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was a welder all his life, and a very good handball player. Played in a lot of what they call the Great Lakes tournaments, which include the United States and Canada. And so my dad played way into past his middle 60s, either singles or doubles. I was brought up playing handball quite a bit, and that's the sport that he made us get in the handball court. And, it wasn't, I don't think any of my other two brothers could beat him, but we come close. But we did a lot of swearing and cussing. And but that's how we learned another place to compete, and a sport that I loved. After a while, you get away from the handball, you start playing more racquetball in the courts. But it's a great game. I always thought that every athlete, if you could take the time in the off season to get in a handball court or play racquetball court, or even I'm a big on hitting speed bag and that type of thing, because I think that's just those two things are just terrific workouts for guys, no matter what sport you're playing. And not only that, you get a good workout. But don't ever step in front of the guy hitting the ball off the back wall. Okay.
Well, I'll take that advice. Well, you move on to college. What made you pick Florida State? Had you been to Florida before, and were you nervous to leave home?
Ken Myers, who was the offensive coordinator down at Florida State, was raised in Erie, Pennsylvania. And Ray Dombrowski and Al Calabrese, who are football coaches and basketball coaches, Ray knew Ken. And so I got to meet Ken, and he was able to watch film and get to see us work out and everything. And that's basically how I ended up down at Florida State, was through Ken Myers and Ray Dombrowski and Al Calabrese.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And your brother, did he kind of follow you out there? Because he played for the Miami Hurricanes, right?
Yeah, Bobby became a Hurricane. Bobby was more into baseball.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and he got drafted by the Jets, but it was just like a one-year deal. But he was more baseball, and he signed with the Yankees when he was still in college. And he ended up in AAA ball in Binghamton, New York, and then got in an accident. And that was the end of his baseball career. Yeah, but he was really good. They gave him a big bonus, that's for sure. And the Yankees did. And then he played in A-ball, when it was A-ball, double-A, and then a AAA, got in an accident. That was the end of his career. My brother Kenny went to Western Reserve University. He was a Marine. And Kenny was an architectural engineer, designed offshore, oil rigs, water purification plants, all that type of deal, So he worked for Brown and Root for a number of years down in Texas, designing bridges, and he was a designer.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you guys all made it. You were successful.
Yeah. We didn't see each other very much because, Kenny was in Texas or traveling all over the world. Bobby was in Florida all the time. And I was out here in California all the time. So we didn't see each other a lot like we should have. But, we saw each other when we could.
Well, that was a different time, too, because you played both sides of the ball, right?
At Florida State, when I first went there, yeah, and in high school, yeah.
Wow.
I wasn't much of a defensive back, but it was fun. You learned a lot of being on that side of the ball, and then you understand both sides of being a defensive back and a wide receiver, and kind of knowing what each other's looking for, what to do, how to handle it, what to expect, and that's why I've always had a great deal of respect for not only all the guys that I played with, but all the guys I was able to be around when I was coaching with the Raiders, the defensive backs and wide receivers. It's a competitive two positions, and you learn pretty quick to see who's the best. If you don't last too long out there, if you're not one of the best or the cut above or whatever term you want to put with it, it's just two positions that you can get all the accolades and you get all the boos.
Well, you were a pretty good defensive guy because I know in your junior season you had that 99-yard interception, ran it back for a touchdown, and that was a record until 1987 when Deion Sanders broke it.
Oh, yeah. Well, something, that's the one thing about records. You can hold on to them for a number of years, but they're always going to be broken no matter what. But yeah, I got a little lucky with George Myra down in Miami, and the Horse both threw me the ball, and I caught it, and I don't know how much speed they had on the field, but they had to be a lot slower than me because I don't have that speed.
Well, you're on the all-time Florida State team along with Deion Sanders. So a little fun scenario here. Could he have covered you, and would you have still got your catches in?
Hell no, he couldn't have covered me. You know what? It's so, the guy is such a talent. There's people that play sports that are just exceptional. There's so much greatness out there. We're just talking about football on a football field. But then there's the people that are the exception. And Deion was the exception. And that you see guys play, like Lester and Willie Brown and Tatum and Atkinson, being able to be around those guys and watching them play and being part of that. And, we had a lot of great players, that were the exception. When you're playing and actually in it, you go out there, you're winning games. And fortunately, we won a lot of games and we lost some big games. And you don't know how great guys were until you're away from it. And you look back at it and you think about all the guys you played, like Ted and Dave and Raymond Chestner. And I got to play with Billy Cannon and Cotton Davidson and just a number of guys that were just unbelievable. Clifford, of course, and, guys like Mike Ciani, Rod Sherman. It was just an exceptional group of guys in an exceptional period of time. Sis Drunk and Danny Connors, and it was just fun. Listen, when you're winning, it's fun. Okay, when you're losing, it's not so much fun. The big thing with sports is like I said earlier, you either win or you lose. Nobody cares if you came in second or if you were close or whatever, you still lost. Like this year with that 50th anniversary with Pittsburgh. And, the sad thing is Franco passing away because he is such a great guy and a great guy to be around. And the year before, we had an opportunity at the Hall of Fame to do a radio show down there with the Hall of Fame guys in Canton to kind of go back and forth a little bit about the game and everything. But, it's every year, every game, there's always going to be somebody coming up with an exceptional play that turns the game around or wins the game. No matter what you want to say, he came up with the play. And that's what catapults you to the next level. And he certainly did that, not only for himself, but for the entire Steelers,
Yeah, and rest in peace, Franco Harris,
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's somebody that's just an exceptional player. And you know what? The thing about him is he was an exceptional guy. And like I said, when we had that opportunity to be around each other at the Hall of Fame and then doing the radio show together, going back and forth, it was, people see all the athletes on the field and sure you're out there competing. But, the great thing about it is, when you get, especially, listen, you're very fortunate to get in the Hall of Fame. And not only that, but to be able to be around guys that are in the Hall of Fame and guys you played against. And, the guys from the Steelers, from Kansas City, from San Diego, from Denver, all the teams, guys you played against are in the Hall of Fame. They're just a bunch of great guys. And they're exceptional players. They made a difference in the sport. They made a difference on a football field. That's why you're in the Hall of Fame. You make a contribution of some sort that other people haven't had the opportunity to do it, or maybe the opportunity hasn't come around. And you're fortunate enough to seize that opportunity. And God bless all of us because we've had opportunities to do that. And some people don't. And sometimes it's a difference.
You speak about your Hall of Fame career and all the great people that you've come in contact with along the way. And, it brings me back to that 1965 draft. You were drafted but in the AFL by the Raiders. You were the 11th pick. And then the NFL by the Lions. You ended up going with the Raiders. Did you notice the blue-collar feel in Oakland? Did it remind you of home a little bit?
No, because we played in the one right downtown in Oakland. I don't know how to describe it. It had these wooden seat stands, okay? and the locker rooms were Quonset huts. It was right on the freeway. When you go down to Oakland, you get off on Broadway, and that's how you got to the field. We had our practice facility out in Hayward at a condemned high school. That's where we had our facility at the time. It was just different, It was the old AFL where, in Kansas City, you played at the old baseball park. In Buffalo, you played at War Memorial Stadium. And down to San Diego, you played at Balboa Park. What was the other one? Fenway Park in Boston, or at the college there outside of Boston.
Well, even San Francisco, they played at Kezar, right?
Oh yeah, you played at Kezar. Yeah, that was an experience too. Yeah.
So you played there?
Yeah, luckily they had the cage over the entrance to the stadium because people were throwing beer bottles and everything at you when you're coming out.
Wow.
But yeah, so I got the opportunity to play all the old places. Denver was kind of new, but old. And then the Jets had Shea Stadium. Well, the only drawback on that was the airplanes coming across from the airport. But yeah, so Minnesota, you played outside. It was different. St. Louis, you played on this sort of cement. When we moved to Candlestick, you played on that cement. And then the big deal was Houston with the Astrodome. And there were times where, they had the rodeo in there all week before we were getting ready to play. And they still had some of the cattle and every horses still underneath the stadium the night before.
So you're playing in a barn.
Yeah, exactly. It smelled that way too. So it smelled like my uncle's farm outside of Erie.
And now you walk into the Raiders' new place in Vegas, and you're probably like, "What the hell? Why didn't we get this?"
Well, you know what? I know it is. It is, and it's a fantastic place. It's beautiful. I mean, no way around saying that. But, you still miss Oakland. You still miss the stadium there. And you still miss the parking lot and coming through the people tailgating and being in that stadium. And it's just like when you're playing there, you're just in a locker room and out on the field. So you really don't get a feel for what's going on in the stadium other than, after I got out of coaching, sitting up there and watching games. But, it all depends how you want to look at it. I know money now is for sports is all the suites. If you don't have suites, you don't have anything. But that's why Legion Stadium is fantastic because you have suites, a million of them. And the setup there is really fantastic, because you can get out of your seat and you can go get food, a drink. The restrooms are close. So you're not walking 2 miles to get something to eat or something to drink. And it seems like getting in and out of there for people, it's okay. You don't hear too many complaints about it. And then they got the tailgates all set up outside, which is, a little bit different areas. It's not like in Oakland, the way Oakland was, but it's, they're still out there tailgating, still having fun. So that's the main thing. And, when you get inside the stadium, it's a Hollywood production.
Yeah, definitely. I was there the other day for the Raider-Niner game, and I was very impressed. It's a beautiful stadium.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. It really is amazing. And then you got the nightclub with Wynn down there. Then you got the Black Hole over there, which is probably still have to grow a little bit. I don't know how you would handle the Black Hole from Oakland to Las Vegas, but I know people still part of that.
Well, you speak about the nightclub. I mean, those Raider teams you were on, if they had a nightclub in the stadium, you guys maybe never left, right?
Oh, geez. I mean, listen, you just go buy a lot of that stuff when you're going to the locker room. Yeah, you don't have to get undressed. You go stop and have a drink or a beer right after the game in your uniform.
Where'd you guys hang out? I know the Raiders were kind of known for, getting out, getting some drinks in. Did you guys hang out in San Leandro? I heard about a bar maybe called Jake's back in the day. Where'd you guys go?
Yeah, Jake's, because Jake had a lot of good food. Everybody hung out there, down at Jack London Square. Al's Cactus Room used to be to hang out down in Oakland. Then at the Hilton, we used to have our after-game parties there. And that was about it. San Leandro, Castro Valley, Pleasanton, Dublin. So Bay Area at that period of time when we're all playing was a fantastic place to be in, because being a blue-collar town, you had a lot of intermingling with the players and the people that lived in town. Alameda, which I love Alameda. You just were so involved in the community. You couldn't help but be involved in the community because that's where everybody lived, right there. So you saw everybody all the time, and it was just a fantastic place to be. Well, you know what? You had more players and the people there, like tailgating in town, whatever. Everybody had more access to each other. There was very little separation from everybody no matter where you were in the Bay Area, with the fans and with the players.
Did you guys run with the Hales Angels at all, or did they hang out with you?
No, not me. No, I don't know. No, I met them years and years ago, and but no, I never did. No.
And you guys did training camp in up in Santa Rosa, right? Is it true you would like rent out a hotel? Is it the Hotel Tropicana?
Yeah, it was the El Rancho. Al always liked to stay at hotels, so our training camp was a hotel, traveling, the best hotels, so we did everything really, 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 well, he did everything really, really first class for the guys.
What was that like being there? Because I've heard the, legendary, I don't know if they're true or not, but like the curfew stories, when you have like the Ken Stablers, the Mark Hubbards, Tom Keatings. Any good memories from staying in those hotels in Santa Rosa?
Well, they brought you together. You were in training camp for like 3 weeks or whatever it is now. You were in training camp for like at least a couple months. So you're there all the time. We went, I believe, in July, all of August. And when it was still the AFL, how we would leave camp and go on a 2-week road trip. So we were breaking camp, but we were breaking camp to go to the airport to get on a plane. And, for instance, like we would leave and say you play Saturday night in Florida, you'd leave like on a Thursday and you'd fly, or Friday, fly down there, you play Miami. You might or might not spend the night, and you fly up to Boston and stay there the whole week and play the Patriots. And then you'd fly from there to Buffalo and stay there the whole week and play the Bills and then come home, So you have like a 3-game road trip, maybe beginning of the year all the time, or maybe 2 games, but at least a couple weeks every opening season. And then you may have that during the season one time, so all the guys that play for the Raiders, when you're around each other a lot. The only time you were able to be at home, have anything, is after you made that first road trip, and then the season started, and you're actually in Oakland, getting ready for the games. So that was the only time you really were around your family. You were hardly around your family in training camp. Family day, one event during the training camp, and that was it. And then other than that, you're around each other all the time. And during the week, we always had one day during the week where we all got together and went out and ate, or went out and had a pool tournament, hockey tournament, so some type of recreational thing that we could always all be together with, together once a week at least, all the time during this,
Did you ever practice against guys on your own team, like scrimmages, when you had big guys, Lester Hayes, Willie Brown?
Oh, yeah.
Did that make you better, and any big battles you remember?
You're always in a battle. that was the thing. If you could battle, you weren't going to be playing for Al. And that's the way training camp was. Well, training camp was, that's where you start off. Because we didn't go through a whole process of, like, the first week of training camp, came in there, and like they bring the rookies and some of the veteran guys, or first or second or third year guys in early. You started right off. I mean, there was no period of time where if you were coming in with the veterans the second week and you were part of the first week group, you weren't doing training to get in shape. You were expected to be in shape. And when you started that first day, it was full go. Everything was physical. Everything was hitting and playing aggressively, all except the quarterback. But that's what you did. So they have like a full go run period, pass period. But I mean, nobody hits the quarterbacks, obviously. But that's what you did. You got used to being knocked around before the first to 6 preseason games, whatever. So that's why when you came to camp, you really had to be in shape, because you were starting off right off the bat. There was no, okay, let's do this, let's do that, it's full go right off the bat.
Well, speaking about staying in shape, did you have to have off-season jobs back then?
Oh, yeah. When I first started with the Raiders, my first off-season job, I was parking cars out at the racetrack down in Berkeley.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did that for a couple years, or 2 years or so, 2 or 3 years.
Is that Golden Gate Fields?
Yeah, Golden Gate, yeah. So
wow.
There were about 7 or 8 of us that parked cars down there. Yeah.
That's pretty fun. Did people recognize you?
Oh yeah, you saw everybody. You made just as much money there.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, that was the off-season job. Guys had other jobs and everything, but that was a good job to have because you work a couple months for the meet going on there, and so it was good. You know, it was fun. You know, I enjoyed it. You know, you're meeting all kinds of people. You learn how to gamble. But no, you meet everybody, and you meet a lot of characters. You meet a lot of good people. You know, that's why, like I was saying earlier, you know, the access to the guys was very easy. You know, for people because you saw everybody everywhere. You did a lot of things not only together but different. I mean, like Alameda or San Leandro or Hayward might have a crab feed or this or whatever type of deal. Every year it'd be like an annual thing, and a bunch of guys would always go. You know, and look forward to it. You know, going over to San Francisco and hanging out there, and we had our off-season basketball team that we traveled all the way like northern Nevada. We'd go on 2 or 3 game road trips. Yeah. So you'd have your guys, you'd be together again. So it worked out. You know, it worked well for all of us because it seemed like we all played basketball somewhere, high school or wherever it may be. Got that chance to do that in the off season, and you know, you played against the 49ers quite a bit, and the Chargers, and it may be different teams here and there, or whatever.
Oh.
All-star teams, you know, which was always competitive when you went to all these towns in California or up in Nevada around Reno.
Did you throw some elbows against the Niners, or?
I'll tell you, we had some competitive games, believe me. Yeah. But that's how we got to be friends with a lot of guys with the 49ers, you know. We had a lot of fun together. You know, you did a lot of, you know, those trips of basketball games together. So you're around each other all the time. You know, that's how we built up. That's why I always felt that all the guys on with the Raiders were always close because we did so many things together. Oh, year round, basically.
Well, you spoke about Berkeley earlier. I had a friend that played at Cal, and do you remember this? He said you came in to like maybe do some assistant coaching, like volunteer stuff with the wide receivers, and the defensive back coach was Nate Wright, and you guys had some Super Bowl battles.
Oh, yeah.
Was that kind of awkward, or was there friction at all?
No, no, not at all. Yeah, because Joe Cap was the head coach then, and I knew Joe, so he asked me to come up there and just work the spring and maybe into the summer, whatever I felt I wanted to do. So I did it. It was a good time. Listen, anytime you had to be around Joe Cap and see the intensity and somebody that really had the passion to win and the passion for the kids, you know, the players and everybody. It was an experience. It really was. It was a good experience. Had a lot of fun up there. Met a lot of guys that like Rivera and all those guys were playing there. I got to be around those guys, watch them play. So it was good. I spent a lot of time. I lived down in outside San Diego in a town called Valley Center outside Escondido. I coached at Orange Glen High School for a couple years there with receivers. And then the junior college, I helped out there with Paul Moyner for spring. And then I coached for Ed Hall up in the Bay Area at the junior college there for a couple years. And then I was with Frank Kush down there with the Arizona Outlaws with the USFL, then with the Raiders. So I was able to, you know, coach in high school, had a little taste of 4-year college, had a good taste of junior college, then the USFL, the Canadian League, and then finally ending up with the Raiders.
Yeah, great years there, and you know, you put in your time.
Oh yeah, you know, something I never ever planned it out that way. You know, as far as coaching, because I never wanted to coach anybody like me. But I was happy that down in Escondido, I had the opportunity to coach high school there, because that kind of got me started and get a little taste. And parents are the worst, unbelievable.
Little league type parents, you know.
You know, people want their kids to play. They want to know why they're not playing, you know. I was told one time with Bear Bryant when somebody asked him how come his son's not playing, he said, "Little Johnny just ain't good enough." That's it. But each one of those, like high school, junior college to college, the USFL, the Canadian League, and then the NFL. I mean, I got to hit, every level. I always liked junior college quite a bit because of the fact that, kids were just starting to get into being looked at from four-year schools. And when that started to evolve, those kids in junior college, I mean, they come out there, they want to play because their opportunity to go to a four-year school, if it didn't happen before out of high school, they had the opportunity after spending 2 years or maybe 1 year in junior college. So the kids I was able to be around in junior college were fantastic, especially, being in Walnut Creek at the Diablo Valley when Ed Hall out there was really, I remember when I went out there, sat down, called Ed and asked him if I could meet with him. And so I got out there. He said, "Yeah, what can I do for you?" I said, "Well, I like a coaching position. Do you need a wide receiver coach?" And he looked at me, he thought I was nuts. I go, "No, seriously." So he said, "Yeah, okay, fine." So I ended up being with him for a few years, and I enjoyed being out there. And it was fun. And then the USFL was fun, especially being able to be around Charlie Sumner and be around those guys, and Ron Lynn and Mike Halyachet, be able to be with Bobby Hebert and Anthony Carter and Fred Bassana and that whole group of guys. And, it was a lot of fun. And then going up to Canadian League, I had that experience of playing for the Alouettes in 1980. I had a little taste of the Canadian football, which I enjoyed being up there. And playing in the Olympic Stadium was fantastic. And then eventually being in Calgary and coaching there, which the town is just phenomenal. The people there and the players there. I love British Columbia. I had a good run of about, 30, 35 years going to British Columbia for vacation every year. I enjoy Canada. I enjoy the people there. I miss it. I miss going up there. I'd rather go to British Columbia for vacation than any other place in the world, believe me,
Yeah. Well, one thing I got to ask about since I have you, you have some of those epic photos of you on the sidelines smoking cigarettes during games. Do you still smoke these days?
Very little. Very little. Yeah.
Yeah, like how did you do that? Did the clubhouse kids grab them for you, or how'd you bust them out?
Well, no, I mean, we never smoked on the sideline. We always smoked. When I was coaching, we could, until they finally banned that. But other than that, playing, you just smoke coming down the tunnel, and that's it. I think they started setting the laws when they started getting the AstroTurf in, and they were finding cigarette burns on the AstroTurf.
Don't want to light the field on fire that way, I guess.
Yeah, probably. But just another rule.
Yeah. Well, everyone knows you use stickum through your career. Where did you get that idea from? And is that just basically like pine tar?
No, but from the Chargers. Yeah, there was a company down in San Diego that made it, and a guy named Speedy Duncan, who was a defensive back and a returner for the Chargers, was using it, and our equipment guy, Dick Romanski, went over to ask their equipment guy what it was, and that's how we ended up starting getting it, first of all, then using it. Yeah, so it's just...
Is it hard to wash off?
Well, we took it off with paint thinner. Yeah, so that's the way you can get it off. But it wasn't fun getting it off. But,
Wow.
that's, hopefully it wasn't too much on your skin because, after a while, after you go through the whole year taking that stuff off, you got a pretty raw arm or hands.
Well, how are the hands looking these days?
Old. Old, stiff. It's like the cold weather comes, they're sore. The warm weather comes, they're good.
Oh, yeah.
You enjoy going to the gym to work out because you get in a hot tub and a steam, do that and feel good. And, I'm not a big pill taking guy, so I just kind of let things ride themselves out a little bit, So you just kind of learn to deal with it. Not that it's always great, but you learn to deal with stuff like everybody else does when you're getting older. That everything seems to pop up. Once you hit that 50 mark, then things start slowly creeping in. I have a lot of admiration for guys that are in their 50s, 60s, how they have these classes now with everything and doing all this stuff. I could never do some of those classes anyways. But make it through. So I do a lot of pool work. My work's more in pool.
Oh, okay.
So you have shoulders or creaky bad. I got a hip and knee replacement. So, you can't get out there running anymore. So I do a lot of pool work.
We lived in such a classic, tough era of football. How did you recover during the week back then? Because is it true you only missed 8 games in 14 years? So that's pretty amazing.
Well, you know what? The thing about it is that, I spent a lot of time working out. I didn't spend a lot of time like in whirlpools and all that type of deal, At times I did just to kind of get loosened up or kind of take a day off during the season or whatever. But I stayed working out all the time. Our day off was Monday all the time. And like now they have to go in Monday and Tuesday off and all that stuff. But we always had Monday off. But I always went in Monday sometime during the day, worked out, did my running, not hard, just enough to loosen up, ease, go through some fundamental stuff, take a whirlpool, and then that was it. Yeah, there wasn't too many times when I was playing that I would let a day go by where I didn't work out. But I was always in pretty good shape though, because we didn't have an off-season program like they do now, so you had to set up your own program. So I had a pretty good program set up for myself that when I went to camp, I was in really, really good shape. And that was basically because I did a lot of endurance things, a lot of distance running, a lot of hill running, a lot of racquetball and handball, a lot of speed bag work, stuff that was really, really strenuous that you could get used to. And then your rest period would be very short. And then going again, stopping, going, because that's what you were doing. So I was always in pretty good shape when I went to training camp. The only thing I never really did a lot of was catching the ball in the off season. When I was ready to go to camp, I could go out there and I could run forever. And then, of course, at camp, I spent a lot of time catching balls, running routes. When you're playing handball or racquetball, you're counting on your footwork. So that was kind of what my footwork. And then, what it was just all fundamental work. That's all it was.
Yeah, a little cross training.
Yeah, so many sports are based around your arm placement. And that's what I always found in football. Everything was where your arms were, where your hands were. Everything has to be basically done from the waist up, especially in football. I always equate it to fighting. If your arms ever drop, you're going to get knocked out. It's like catching a football. You have to know how to prepare to catch a football. If your arms and hands are all over the place, your preparation isn't going to be very good. You always have to understand how you're preparing to catch a ball, and it's all in your arms and hands. Everything has to work in unison with your eyes.
Yeah. Well, you talk about catching footballs, and you caught a lot from Ken Stabler. What was so special about him besides being a player, but as a person, a friend, a teammate? What do you think back on about Ken?
He's just a good guy. Yeah, very easygoing. Like with Kenny, it was just a good friendship, just a good guy. Easy to be around. LaMonica was easy to be around. I mean, even though LaMonica was a little more intense, but he was basically easy to be around. You learn how to be around. Blanda was easy to be around. I had a great friendship with all those guys, and each one of them were just a different personality. But it's like everything that we do in life. You don't want to have friends that are like you. That's what makes friends. That's why I'm very fortunate to have a lot of friends, because I don't judge anybody. They are who they are, and that's your friend, that's your pal. That's it. That's your buddy. That's who you like to be around. And that's how I always approached everything. And like with Kenny and Daryl and George, that's what they were there. But each one of them was a competitor. They wanted to win, and that was the common goal, was winning. It's like George Atkinson and I are still, and Raymond Chester are still very good friends. Banazak, but the common common denominator between all of us is the fact that we wanted to win. Whatever it took to win, that's what we had to do, because that was part of our makeup. And, you look at everybody's background and you go through our team from years ago, everybody had that, I don't know how tough, but a tough way to be brought up. They were brought up in a tough way. They're brought up competing. They're brought up, you only win. You never lose. You only win. Like I said earlier, who cares if you come in second? Nobody. They care if you come in first. And that's how our mentality was. That's how our makeup was.
What do you do with the rings? Do you have them on lockdown? Do you have them in a display room?
I'm not a ring guy. The only thing I wear is my wedding ring. I love the rings. A lot of guys wear them. I'm just, I'm not a wristwatch guy, and I'm not a ring guy.
Too heavy, too. It's annoying.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was never that way. I have my share of things, rings and wristwatches and all that stuff and that deal, but I'm just not that type of guy.
You spent 18 seasons coaching for the Raiders, and your son followed in your footsteps too, right? So was he around you a lot when you were in the locker room as a player? Was he tagging along?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Junior. Yeah, absolutely. Freddie was around all the time, coming to watch practices, coming to, obviously, the games, and being able to be at the facility in Alameda, being able to be at the stadium when we practiced. And Freddie is very, very good. He does a great job coaching. He handles kids really well. And Freddie's a gentleman. He was brought up with yes, sir, no, sir, and that type of attitude. And he still carries it to this day. And he's just a fantastic kid. And if he was my son or not, he's a fantastic kid. And he does a great job. And I've always admired Freddie from the fact that watching him coach in high school, junior college, the fact how he handles not only his coaches, but how he handles the players, how he gets the guys to play. And that's been a big asset that I've always seen in him, is the way and I've always told him that. I go, you know what, there's guys that coach and guys that coach. And I said, you're that guy that coaches. And over the years, I went to so many guys that Freddie had in junior college that played professional football that I feel very proud. They come up to me and say, hey, my name's so-and-so. Freddie was my coach, this and that. And they're very proud to have Freddie as their coach. And it was very impressive. It really, really impressive.
Where's he at right now?
He's down in Las Vegas. He's there at Coronado High School, and he's getting ready to make a transition over to Texas. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, Fred, it was so much fun getting to know you, hear your story, and reflect on your great career. But what else do you have planned for the day? What's on the agenda?
Well, I'm going to go have some lunch and then get started on my taxes.
I think I'll be joining you on that. I got to get mine knocked out, too.
Yeah, you got to do that, stud.
Yeah. All right, Fred.
You take care.
And there you have it. That's my time with the NFL Hall of Famer, Fred Biletnikoff. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you haven't already, make sure to give us a follow on Twitter. And if you have any guest suggestions, shoot me an email at jimonbaseshow@gmail.com. And we'll see you on the next one.